In this video, we're going to be breaking down exactly how boxing is physical chess. Now, everything on the chessboard we can relate to the ring, vice versa. Let's get straight into it. Before we do, I just want to give credit where credit's due. Ivan Cobb gave me the idea and started off this idea of boxing and chess, and since then I've just been thinking about loads of different examples and ways that we can use it and implement it in our boxing game. So let's get straight into it. To start with, the first thing I want you to start thinking about is the board, okay? What do you think the board is going to be? So I want you to think of the board as the ring. And then I want you to think of the rules of chess as the rules of boxing. So if you're playing someone at chess, if they don't know the rules, they're never going to beat you. It's exactly the same in boxing. If we've gone through the England Boxing PDF about how they train the referees on what counts as a scoring punch and all the rules that they actually look for, then our opponent is not going to have a high chance of beating us. If we know every single rule and know what they're looking for, they're not going to beat us. It's exactly the same in chess. If we know how to use each piece, our opponent doesn't stand a chance if they don't even know how to play. You can't play a game if you don't know the rules. So there's the first two analogies for you. The chessboard is the ring, and the rules are the boxing rules as well, okay? Now, in chess, like boxing, we're always analysing what's going on. We're trying to think moves ahead on how we can capitalise on our opponent, how we can think smarter, have ways of moving before your opponent to get the advantage. And it's exactly the same on the chessboard and in boxing. We always need to think ahead, think of what our opponent's doing, and how can we counter it. So in chess, we always need to move. We either need to move into a better position or we need to attack. So for example now, I can either move here, so then I've got some defense. I can move here, so then I'm in a better position and I'm not gonna get attacked. Or I can attack and take, okay? So the only two options ever in chess is to move into a better position or take a piece. It's exactly the same in boxing. When you're fighting, I don't want you going in there and just fighting and not thinking. I want you to be thinking that you only have two options all the time. You can either move into a better position, into a better ring position, like where you can get the advantage. Maybe you hold center ring, maybe you start moving him into the corner. So either moving into a better position or you're attacking. Say you're in range and you see the shot, then you attack, attack, attack. But maybe you're out of range, so then you're just moving into a better position. Getting them into the corner, getting them on the ropes, holding that ring. So we either use the space better and position ourselves in a better area, or we attack. Okay, so now let's get to how each piece plays a role in our boxing repertoire. So we've got the pawn. You can't play chess without the pawn, you know? Every time we move a pawn, we move forward, we move forward, we move forward. Now, this is exactly like the jab. You start with the pawn, you start with the jab. You keep working the pawns, work the pawns, make your way up the board, work the pawns, okay? And then once we've moved every pawn, then, you know, that's the jabs working. We can win a fight with just our jab. I've put him under pressure now and he's already thinking about, whoa, what's going on? Because I've just been moving my pawns. That's exactly the same with the jab. So your pawns are your jab. You always start with the jab, and it will win you fights. It will win you games if you can utilize the pawns properly. So at the start of a game, when we first move our pawn, what can we do? We can move it 2 spaces. This is exactly the same with the jab. When that fight starts, why not start with a double jab? And why not keep working the double jab? Work the double jab coming in, double jab, set things up, okay? This is exactly how you set things up. You work the double jab, okay? So that's another point for you. Work the pawn as your jab and hunt down. Also utilize the double jab. Okay, now the last one for the pawn. So we're working up the board. We're using our jab, we're using our double jab, and we keep working up the board. And then, what happens then when we get to the end of the board? So we keep working the jab, and then we get to the end of the board. And then what happens? That's when we can bring in the queen and change our pawn for a queen. So theoretically, we'd have 2 queens on the board now. And from then, now you've got a queen. Like we've gone from a jab, working the jab, and then you finally see that opening once the jab keeps working, and then you change into a queen. And that's when the punch variation, punch combinations come in, when you can change to that queen. When you work the jab, open him up with a jab, opening comes, queen, combinations, punch variation straight away. So that is how the pawn and the jab work hand in hand. The first piece we're going to talk about is the king. Now, I want you to think of the king as we don't have one, okay? So, you don't have a king. Your opponent is the king. So your opponent in the ring is the king. Now, it's important for us to think as our opponent as the king, because as soon as we start underestimating our opponents, that's when things start to not go your way. So I want you to think of your opponent as a king. Now, this doesn't mean you should bow down and be a servant or be a slave to your king. This means that you need to train so hard and you need to become a king yourself to challenge this king. It's that mentality of thinking you're fighting the best boxer ever, thinking you're fighting a world champion. If you go into this fight thinking that you're fighting a king, thinking that you're fighting a world champion, how much harder are you going to train? How much more blood, sweat and tears are you going to put in? So I want you to think as your opponent as the king. We need to do everything possible and devise a strategic plan and sharpen all our tools, all our pieces, so we can beat this king. Now, here's where we have the advantage. Our opponent is only the king. So if our opponent is just a king and he only has a king on the board, okay, and we have all these different pieces with different skills, different techniques, different ways that we could capitalize and take down this king, who's going to win? We are. And I'm going to show you exactly how. So the reason I chose your opponent to be the king is one, so you don't underestimate him and you train very, very hard. But two, is because most boxers, majority of boxers you'll come across, especially in the lower ranks, they'll only move backwards, they'll only move forwards, they'll only move side and to the side. Now, the king is the most important piece on the board, but his movement is very, very restricted. Now, in most cases, that's going to be exactly the same as your opponent. They're only going to go forward with a jab, step back, backhand, step to the side, backhand, step to the side, left hook, okay? Okay, maybe it's a bit off-throwing, it could catch you a few times. Once you start to realize what he's doing and you get into the rhythm and you understand that he's only got this limited movement, that's when you can start capitalizing. But the king, maybe he's arrogant, maybe he's cocky, maybe he's confident, okay? So he's gonna start throwing back, he's gonna start attacking, okay? So we know how he's gonna attack. He's gonna come in a straight line forward. That's exactly what your opponent's going to do. He's going to come 1-2 or double jab backhand or whatever it is. He's going to come in a straight line forward, okay? Now here, the next analogy for you. Whenever this king is attacking you, whenever your opponent is attacking you, I want you to think that you are restricted to only 4 movements and you can't be in a straight line. Now, what 4 movements aren't a straight line? What looks like this? It's when the bishop comes in. So whenever our king is getting forward and getting aggressive, our opponent's coming forward getting aggressive, okay? We turn into a bishop. Every time they attack, we're a bishop, okay? Now what I mean by this, so if your opponent is coming forward, we can either counter punch or we can counter attack. And the bishop is responsible for all of these movements. So opponent's coming forward, what we're gonna do is we're gonna step back and to the right, okay? Ready for the counter punch. We're stepping off the line and we come back for the counter punch. So for example, with the bishop, we come off the line, yeah? So we've got the king here and the bishop here. The king, he's coming forward, okay? It's our move now. What do? We can only move on diagonal lines. So what do? We step back diagonally, back and right. If the king comes forward again, that's check, okay? Game over. Exactly the same for the other side. So the king's getting confident, he's coming forward in a straight line. He takes one punch forward and steps in with it. What do? Slide back off the line to the left. We don't go back in straight lines, we go right and left. That's our only option, that's the only thing we can do. We can only go on a diagonal. So the king is thinking, what's going on? Let me come forward and punch again, and boom, it's checkmate. That's counter punching for you. We miss a punch and then we return with our own. So we're missing a punch by coming off the line, he's coming by us, and we're landing on the side of his head. You know, it's going to cause more damage anyway. So we're off the line and we're coming back. We're off the line and we're coming back, okay? He's never going to hit us. Next, we've got counter attacks. What we're going to do is your opponent is coming forward, again, in a straight line. As your opponent is coming forward with a jab or whatever he's coming forward with, a combination, as he's coming forward, at the same time, we move at the same time. So we're here, he moves forward, and we come off on an angle, okay? Now here, we need to act fast, but we've got the advantage because this king, he needs to turn and face us before he can attack again, okay? So right now, he's still facing forward. Our opponent's still facing forward. So he's come in with a punch, and he's still facing forward, okay? So, and by the time he readjusts and faces us again, ready to set up and move one forward, we've already attacked. So as soon as he turns, we've already landed a punch on him. He comes forward, we move to the side, that's a punch there. So your opponent's coming forward, say with a 1-2, or maybe just a jab. As he's coming forward with the jab in a straight line, all we're gonna do is step in with our jab and get off the line in that forward right diagonal. So he's throwing the jab, we're stepping to the side, stepping forward and landing our jab on his chin. As he's missed, his jab's here, we've landed on his chin, he's come into it with impact, so it's gonna hurt even more. So we're here, he's coming forward, in a nice straight line, we can read him, he's predictable. We're waiting for him to come, and then he releases. He throws his jab, all we do is step off on the angle, on that forward right diagonal. We step forward, there, then we come straight back, and as we're coming back, we release. So we're there, and then we release. We're already off the angle, boom, okay? And that's when we land as he's turning. So we're there, we land on his chin, he misses. He's turning, our punch lands, and once again, it's game over. Now, it's exactly the same for the other side. So he comes forward one, we go to the left one, okay? Exactly the same principle. As he's turning, we attack. Before he's even turned, we attack. So we attack when he comes forward and he steps into our punch, boom. He's gone for a right hand, we've stepped to the side and thrown our right hand. His right hand has missed our head completely. Ours has landed on his chin. And with impact, again, it's gonna hurt him. So he's walked into our right hand, and then all of a sudden, he's focusing on turning because you're not ahead of him. So as he's turning, then you attack again. 1-2, whatever. That is how we use the bishop in boxing for counter-punching and counter-attacking. Whenever our opponent throws something, we're going off the angle, we're attacking on an angle. We're never going back or forward in straight lines. Next, we've got our knights. Now, everyone who plays chess knows that knights always come out of nowhere and they take pieces. So, the simplest example for chess, this pawn may think it's safe. They think, no, it's nothing around me, there's nothing close to me. And then all of a sudden, the knight comes in and takes the pawn and they're just shocked, okay? They're gone. So, this is exactly the same as left hooks and overhand right hands and all of that stuff. So, when we're working the jab, and then they start working the jab as well. So maybe he has like the same sort of mindset with the pawns, like he's working the jab, and he's working on that. So what do we do then? We start whipping in the hooks, the overhands, because as he's so focused on these straight shots and these jabs, that's when we start going, boom. As his jab's out, you land on his chin with a punch that he doesn't see. It's exactly the same how the knight works. So he's there thinking he's safe working the jab, and then we come in with a left hook and knock him out. Or not knock him out, but cause him a lot of damage, potentially knock him out. Because he doesn't see that punch, you know, it's going to shatter his brain because we're hitting the side of his head. It's going to shatter his brain, and we're more likely to get knockouts and cause some serious damage. And this is exactly the same for overhand right hands, left hooks, right hooks, everything that is not directly in the straight line. If I come round, boom, boom, over, under, okay, whatever punch that's not on this straight line, those are our knights. Now, another good point to think about is when we play chess, we can make our opponent move back and give away ground. So, the rook is a little bit like your opponent as well. He's stuck on these straight lines, so the only thing that he can do here, we've got him backed up with a jab. If he moves forward, you know, we come in with another punch and we take him. If he moves forward twice, you know, our horse is there with an unexpected shot. So his only option here is to move to the side or give up ground and retreat. So if he moves to the side, that just gives us another plan to devise. We can do many options. We can set here so he can't go anywhere again. He can't move forward. All his option is to go to the side. Or we make him retreat. So if he's there and he just thinks, oh no, I don't like this, I'm in trouble here, let me just go back, get back in the safe zone. Okay, there we can't attack him, but guess what? He's giving away ground. Exactly the same in the boxing ring. If we're putting him under pressure, and we dominate that ring and we push him back, okay, who's going to be on top? If you're constantly pushing him back, you're going to look like you're winning, you're going to feel like you're winning, and you will win. Now, that wraps it up for as many chess analogies that I've thought of so far. I'm sure I'll be adding more as my brain gets ticking. But the last takeaway point that I want you to get from this physical chess, boxing and chess as one. Now, if we analyze a chessboard now, each piece is exactly the same. This is exactly like you and your opponent, okay? Whoever you're fighting has only got 2 arms and 2 legs, exactly like you. So why would you give them any power? Why does it matter how many fights they've had? Why does it matter if they're national champion? Why does it matter who it is, okay? You've got exactly the same pieces. You've got exactly the same advantages. It's a fair game. Don't give your opponent anything. Don't ever have any self-doubt about who you're fighting, if they've had loads of fights, if they're more experienced than you, if they've got like certain things to their name. None of it matters. They've got 2 arms and 2 legs. It is a completely fair game. And if anything, you've got the advantage. Because guess what? If your opponent, like I said, is the king, and they can only use that king because they don't really know how to use all the other ones properly, they don't really know how to move off to the side and attack at the same time, they don't know how to counter punch, they don't know all these different things, and you do. He's stuck with one movement, okay? Back, forward, left, and right. Now, how predictable and easy is that for you to beat when you can go forward as many as you want? You can go work the pawn, you can go boom, sneak attack. All of a sudden, he's in check. Then you've got the bishop, you know how to move diagonal, you know how to cause him trouble. If he's attacking you, you know how to step off, step back, you know? So you've got the major advantage. It's a completely fair game, as in physical and attributes, but if you're using your brain more and you're using the angles and you're using each piece to your advantage, the win is yours for the taking. He does not stand a chance. So I hope this chess analogy and physical chess video has really helped you out and opened your eyes a little bit, because honestly, when I started thinking about this, it changed how I thought, it changed how I acted in the ring. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this chess analogy. Take notes. I've got it all in my notes. When he attacks, bishop. Starting the fight, double jab, working the jab, work the jab, work the jab, change to a queen, release the combos, release the punch variation. Like, it's all makes so much sense to me, and hopefully it's making so much sense to you and it's opened your eyes a little bit. So I hope this video has helped and provided value to you. It's improved your mental ability in the ring, outside the ring. You're thinking more, okay? Hope it's helped. Peace out.